All right, Renee. Imagine you're sitting next to the dogs. You're enjoying a relaxing moment, maybe with a glass of whatever, after toiling away, and Sam says to you he needs a new washing machine. Because now, I know Sam does laundry because of his precious print shirts. And you say you'll take care of it. And you order a washing machine right from the couch. You have it shipped across the country and delivered right to your door. And this happens every day. You simply browse the nearly infinite selection, choice, and buy. Sounds like a typical Amazon experience, right? Nope. It was Sears 120 years ago. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Nostalgic Nerds Podcast, where we connect today's tech obsessions to the long story of how we got here. I'm Mark.
And I'm Renee. Wait, are you saying that Sears and Amazon was Amazon before Amazon was Amazon?
That's right. Exactly right. Same business, different century. One run on trains and catalogs, and the other on servers and smartphones.
Yeah, okay, this sounds fun. I haven't been to a grocery store in 7 years. Let's go shopping.
All right. Okay. So let's rewind to the late 1800s. Now we're going to rewind a little bit further back than what we would normally do. This is before both of our times, but that's okay. I think it's important to the story here. And talk about shopping in most of the 19th century before the Sears catalog. In this period of time, the separation of rural and urban is much starker. And it means that there's a real difference between how those consumers behaved and what they had access to and what their experience looked like when it comes to shopping. Urban shoppers were starting to experience department stores where many brands and different category goods were being sold under one roof. And the most important innovation of the 18th century might surprise you: fixed prices.
Well, who would agree with the Industrial Revolution if you couldn't predict pricing, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, and here's what I would also say. I think like the idea of the urban store, sometimes it's factory stores. Like back then, right, during the Industrial Revolution, whatever you built in that factory, you probably sold at the store there, but then also went out to maybe salespeople. And that was rural, right? Rural was door to door. Where did you get your china? From a guy who stopped by and said, "Here's everything I have to offer. Which would you like?" How did you buy a carpet? A guy showed up with a bunch of carpet samples and said, "Which would you like?" So knocked on your door and said, "Here's what a vacuum cleaner looks like." I maybe in my time still, in your time still, did you buy a vacuum cleaner door to door? Maybe, right? But that kind of fell off with like the social media marketplaces. But in the rural areas, that lasted a long, long time. That's how you bought, right? And then the more like specialized things got, the more important it was to put them all in one place. I have women's wear. Okay. I have men's wear. Okay. We have housewares. We have electronics. Maybe we should put that all in one place. And that was the birth of the department store. Right? Like all those specialty things come together. And when I was a kid, so I grew up in Pittsburgh, right? So when I was a kid, there was a store downtown. There was Horns, and there was downtown. Oh, do you want me to do it in Pittsburghese? Here we go.
Yeah, you got to do it in Pittsburgh.
All right. So when I was a kid in that, we'd go downtown and we'd go shopping down at Horns and Kaufman's. And Kaufman's had more selection and more stiller stuff, like especially in the winter. But then Horns, that was like where people from Mount Lebanon would go shop, not the people from the South Side. Okay. I did it. At any rate, like that's what it was though, right? You could go one place downtown and you could buy whatever you needed all in one place. All your school shopping could happen in one place. And it was usually like brand stuff, and you could get it there. And Sears, Sears was known for two things if I think back to the beginning. Houses and tools.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? That's how crazy the catalog business was 120 years ago. I could buy a washing machine or I could buy a house.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the housing thing is what kind of got me thinking about this, actually a couple of years ago when I first saw that you could buy a house on Amazon. But it's just crazy what you can, get on there. So let's go to, Sears itself. You mentioned Sears. Before it was a department store, it was a catalog business. So enter Richard Sears. He mails his first product catalog in 1888, and it's not what we would think about, as the Sears catalog. It's watches and jewelry. And there's a funny story about it. You can go look it up. But basically, they had some watches that, maybe potentially fell off a truck or something like that, and he had a surplus set, and you can go look into that. But he has a bunch of watches. He puts it in a catalog, and he ships the catalog out, and he sells a bunch of watches, and that's kind of what he gets known for. Catalogs that existed before, but in small regional applications. But but by the end of about a decade or so, it grows into what we eventually called the big book, with thousands of items: clothes, stoves, prefab houses, tools, jewelry, all the homeware, everything that you could think of. And by the 1920s, half of American households had a Sears catalog every year. So they would print these up, they would ship them out, and it was, a big giant book. That's why they called it the big book. And it wasn't just selling stuff, it was democratizing access. So we just talked about urban, families and department stores, but rural families lived miles from those department stores. And they could, suddenly order anything that they wanted. So if you think about it, that's Amazon Prime. Only the shipping was coming by railroad instead of drones. And the benefits of department stores, fixed pricing. If you think about this, like fixed pricing is a huge, huge revolution in consumer shopping. Before that, it's barter, trade, opportunity-based costs, things like that. But fixed pricing and large selection are brought to rural customers and emerging suburban consumers via that catalog. All right, Renee. So think about the Sears catalog arriving in your mailbox back then. What's the modern equivalent, to you?
Modern, like today, like I don't of all that paper showing up like
Yeah.
twice a year. Like, no, we don't even have phone books anymore. Like I would tell you it was as big as the phone book, except the pages were glossy, right? Like so
Yeah.
like yeah, like it was huge. If I think about I don't know, does Vogue still do the fall edition, this like do they still do a fall print
Yeah.
edition that's still like this
Yeah.
thick? Okay, so
Yeah.
it would have been four times the height of the fall edition of Vogue. Like that's you'd
Yeah.
have to get four Vogues sent to your house, and that's the Sears catalog. So I don't think we have a modern equivalent of it. That's really weird. Like we really don't do that anymore. We don't have a ton of paper delivered to our houses that we flip through. I'm trying to think, I just
Yeah.
got one. I just got one though. What
Oh,
did I
did
get
you?
it from? Pottery Barn. Pottery Barn
Pottery Barn.
still does it. Only they're not very thick and they have a QR code where I can go find more information.
Do you remember the .com? We did catalogs. Remember that?
So that's what I was going to say. You and I are on the cusp of the
Yeah.
changeover to you buy that stuff online and you shop for that stuff online. We're right in the middle of that because you're right. Cooking.com, we had a catalog business. It went out 4 times a year. What
Yeah.
people, marketing people were thinking about how to describe that in the catalog as much as they were thinking about how to describe it online. Yeah, they were doing all that. We were right on the cusp of that because we did both. At the end of all that, though, and Amazon is now selling something other than books. It's selling toys and it's selling, and it's just slowly putting all the .coms out of business because it did what everything else did. It consolidated it together into a giant online department store. And that's what Amazon brought to that space. But you're right? Like we were way before that. We're at the point at which consumers are deciding which way they actually want to do this. Do they trust a credit card online enough to actually use it? That's when you and I are starting to enter into the world of what we know modern today as modern retail, like the
Yeah.
omni-channel retail. Like that's where you and I start.
Well, and I love the like catalog sales and business. It's sort of nostalgic, funny, nostalgic nerds. And I remember, using the catalog to, Christmas time shows up, you're flipping through as a kid, and you mark the pages and show, what you want. In fact, there's a toy store here in the UK, Smith's, and they do a catalog for toys. And my daughter, she loves that thing. She flips through it and marks all her pages and stuff. And she gets her stuff out of the catalog, or Santa brings her stuff, out of the catalog. But I love the history of that. It just reminds me of shopping and back to school shopping and going and getting your pictures taken. We had the kids' pictures taken at Sears all the time, but going through that catalog and picking up a phone talking to a person saying, oh, I want this item. You give them an item number and the whole thing.
Yeah,
But
anybody
you know,
listening, if you want to hear what that sounds like, just go watch Being John Malkovich. There's a scene where John Malkovich is ordering towels, and it just like that's it,
yes,
dude. That's the experience of ordering
exactly
from a
it.
catalog. Go watch Being John Malkovich. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in credit cards, we can go into this some other time, but credit card systems, there's a what's called an entry mode, mail order, telephone order, or MODO, and it was actually built for catalog sales. But coming back to the Sears catalog, do you know that archaeologists use early editions of the catalog to help identify 19th and early 20th century objects? You can get a lot of stuff out of this catalog, as we said, even guns, houses, healthcare, whatever. My dad had reproductions of the catalogs, probably why I love this thing so much. And you can actually buy mini editions of the catalog today on Amazon, of
I
course.
hadn't thought that
Uh,
that's how production departments inside of like period piece films that are like from 1900s on might have been doing
yes.
all their homework, right? Like that's
Yeah.
how like one more time, like I'm disappointed by Titanic. Like maybe that's how they figured it out. They just got a Sears catalog and all of a sudden they had the most accurate depiction of like Titanic that's ever been, right?
That's right.
Amazing.
That's right. The Sears catalog is a wealth of information to 19th and early 20th century fashion, you know, fads, everything, shoes, makeup. I've seen lots of different editions of the catalog itself. So you could buy almost anything you wanted out of the catalog. And it really is like that Amazon experience where you can buy just about anything you want on Amazon. But there's one thing I discovered that would probably be a little shocking to modern shoppers, that you could buy the catalog that you can't exactly buy on Amazon today. Any guesses?
I don't know. You remember that time Bart got Laddie and he bought it on a catalog
Yeah,
with a credit card he opened in Homer's name, which
right.
I can't believe how it had more than $250 on the limit. But he got Laddie the dog, and so I'm going to say you used to be able to get dogs, AKC approved dogs on catalogs. Could you? Could you buy a dog from
I
a Sears catalog?
You know what? I'll have to look that one up. Maybe I'll bring that up for
Okay,
something to put in the show notes here. I'll take a note here. Dogs via catalog.
like
But
paperwork and everything. I would think it'd
I
be like one
know.
of those good
It,
things you could
you
probably
know
sell
what?
online. You
Look,
could do it.
you could buy guns. Why not dogs?
I get
You
the
could
whole
buy
hunting thing
art.
taken care of all
That's
in one
right.
place.
You know what? You're probably right. You could probably buy a freaking dog
All
on
right,
the
we're going to
Sears
look that
catalog.
up and
All
let
right, we're
everyone
gonna look
know.
it up now.
Yeah.
But the one that shocked me the most was heroin. You could buy heroin on the Sears
You could.
catalog.
Cocaine too, I bet. I bet you could do cocaine too. I wonder. I'm going to look that one up next. Okay.
Yeah. The heroin one was a bit like it's surprising, but not surprising at the same time, given the time period that we're talking about.
Right.
Because you're looking at the early 1900s, drug regulation, hasn't happened, prohibition, pre-prohibition. And right after World War One, you had people coming back from overseas that were hooked on morphine, and heroin was actually marketed by Bayer as a morphine replacement and a non-addictive one at that. So,
Oh, we should do a whole episode about how opioids have been addictive forever, yet
yeah,
disinformation and misinformation and marketing strategies have led us to make this mistake more than once. Oh,
yeah. Oh, I
feel
know.
free to cut that out.
It's like the episodes write themselves. Um, we will definitely be coming back to that one. But here's the twist. Sears wasn't just retail. We've talked a lot about retail. We've been talking about catalogs and buying stuff and, as a shopper, being able to get your stuff and that. But it built logistics networks too, credit systems, even insurance products. And, one that's near and dear to my heart, Discover. If you remember Discover Card, Discover was a relatively late addition to Sears, being launched in 1985, but store credit systems had existed long before that. And there were even kind of pre department stores. There was like letters of credit type systems that Sears had innovated. Sears was just as much a logistics innovator as it was a retailer. Pick, pack, and ship, which is something that if you've lived in logistics, that was done out of centralized mega warehouses. Deep integration with rail and USPS services like rural free delivery. If you haven't seen that before, you should take a look at that and check it out. And the one thing that I mentioned before, it enabled fixed pricing, integrated supply chain management. Sears worked directly with manufacturers. Does that sound familiar? Right? Amazon Web Services, Prime Video, all the logistics management that Amazon does today, they're extensions of the platform. So by mid-century, Sears was America's largest retailer. They built department stores, launched credit cards, became a cultural fixture. And for decades, Sears was called the everything store. All right, Renee, when you think about how Amazon gets into groceries, cloud, streaming, is it evolution to you or deja vu?
No, it's deja vu, right? They didn't do all they did was do what Sears did 120 years ago, right? Find all the best retailers who do all the specific stuff, put it all in one place, and then use logistics to send it as far and wide as you can, and that's how you're going to make the most amount of money. Fast forward 120 years, and some guy named Jeff Bezos just decided to do the same thing, but do it with books. And then once he had the logistics networks to do that, he could do it with anything. And then once that got so big and so like top heavy, that iceberg that he was living on, it's now top heavy, right? It's like the amount of stuff it's going to take to maintain a storefront. We knew this. We worked in this stuff. We had a warehouse.
Yeah,
We knew how much technology it took to maintain that storefront. And now you want to be the storefront for everything. The only way you're going to do that is make everybody else pay for your data center. Ta-da! Amazon Web Services, right? Like none of this is, in my mind, I guess it's like, no, actually, we've just changed the channel. So we're no longer talking
right.
about I'm doing this over the phone because that really is a dead channel. I'm going to do this over the internet because that's the new communication channel. We just changed channels. He didn't do anything other than facilitate the channel change. And now
Yeah,
everybody looks at him as being so innovative and so brilliant. Like, actually, no, it's the Sears model all over again for the digital era. He just did it
that's right.
first.
That's right. Talk about that, right? Why did Sears fade and Amazon rise, right? Why did they rise up? Technology adoption, right? Sears doubled down on malls and physical retail just as consumer attention shifting online. You had to pick up the phone to order from Sears, while Amazon was web native, right? Amazon adopted a different technology and logistics stack. Digital first, logistics obsessed, data driven. It's this sort of shift, right? We just talked about it. We were on that cusp, where we worked in a quote unquote .com, but we still had a physical logistics presence. We had a catalog. We had a call center where you could actually call. Can you call Amazon and order? Like, I don't even know if you could do
You
that.
can't call and ask about an order.
Yeah.
Like, I already spent the money. I still can't call you and ask you anything. So no.
That's right. I don't think you could talk to a physical person very often at Amazon. But I think the point here is, technology is that dividing point, but the human need was exactly the same. Give me what I want wherever I am. And Amazon just scaled because it mastered the technology at the time, just as Sears had mastered the technology of the early 20th century, leading into the mid-century. If Sears had embraced the internet early, do you think we'd be talking about Sears Web Services today instead of Amazon?
That's a super interesting question because that would mean they need the vision of, because I think this is
Sure.
what Bezos had, the vision of the idea of I'm paying for nothing. Everybody else is going to pay for everything. I don't know if that was ever going to be in the ethos of Sears. Like Sears was like, I'm going to try and make everybody happy all the time across all these different product categories and it's going to work out great. Like, I think in that way, like, I don't know that they were cutthroat enough for us to be talking about Sears Web Services, but in all fairness, like if Blockbuster took it's like
Yeah.
if it had done the right thing when Netflix first came to them and said, it's about DVDs and it's about streaming and you can do that with us, let's do it. And they're like, are you kidding me? People love coming here looking at the box cover. Like, no one liked coming looking at the box cover. Nobody liked the late fees. No one liked rolling by and dropping it. It wasn't fun to walk the dog to go to the neighborhood Blockbuster. Like, were you guys
Yeah.
that confused? Had you never done any consumer anything? Like it's same thing for Sears, right? This idea that that. No, forever people are going to want to get this book. They just love us so much. It's like, no, the next generation. Here's the thing. Like this iPhone changed everything, right?
Right.
The way we shop, it's changed the way we talk to each other, it's changed the way we communicate. Not often do I talk on the phone. I chat, I message, I FaceTime. I hardly ever, like, other than for work, like, I'm not really talking on the phone all that much that way, right? Like, I do it a bunch of other
Yeah.
ways. Like, I think that's changed everything. So if you could do the catalog stuff forever. I still get a Land's End catalog. You can do it
Sure.
forever. But I don't order from that catalog. Renee does not pick up the phone, call the 800 number, and say, I'm on page 64. Should I get that in pink? I have black hair. Like, I don't do that anymore. Like, nobody does that anymore. I'm going to look at it in the catalog and be like, oh, I'm going to go get that. And then I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to open the app and I'm going to order it. I'm going to pay for it with my Apple Pay and we're going to be done with this, right? And I think that's the difference. So had they been, I don't know, but they'd still be in the game today. And think about what they did too. We have a catalog business. You know what we should do? We should go brick and mortar. What did Amazon do?
I know.
We've got an online business. You know what we should do? Brick and mortar. Like there's literally nothing innovative about this. Nothing.
That's right. That's right. But, it's funny. The kids, when I was talking to the kids about Sears and Amazon, they remember Sears for one reason only, right? Pictures. And
That's why I remember your kids' pictures.
That's right.
That's my connection to Sears. Your kids' pictures.
That's right. Send you the pictures, and we're going to send these to Auntie Renee. And you know what? One thing that you could do at Sears that you can't do at Amazon, you can't get your kids' pictures taken.
There you go. There you go.
So let's bring it back to like cultural impact here. Culturally, both businesses shaped American life. Sears, the catalog was sometimes called the consumer Bible. People pored over it in the same way that we scroll Amazon today. It was aspiration and utility all wrapped up into one. Here's another little fact, though. The Sears catalog was so universal, it got repurposed in rural outhouses. Probably not something that Jeff Bezos is wanting, to be associated with, though. So what do you think today's cultural equivalent of waiting for the Sears wish book to land in the mailbox might be?
Am I waiting, like culturally speaking, what am I waiting to hit my mailbox? Like,
no, just, like the wish book, right? Christmas shopping.
It's your wish list in Amazon, right? Like it's really all it is. And whatever app you use the most of, right? Like, so I'll have a standing order thing for Target. I have which I haven't been able to use since the boycott. And so, I have standing order stuff for grocery stuff in Amazon because I don't grocery shop. I order, it shows up at the front door and the dogs lose their mind. It's fun. So I do all that stuff, right? So I do have, maybe that's it. The wish list is that, but then every retailer everywhere who has an omni-channel presence in the world has a wish list so that you'll come back here. You've already shopped for it. You already know what you want. Just put it in the cart and now you can leave. And it also kind of gives them an idea of what people really, what they could put on sale based on what's sitting in a bunch of carts, right? Like I often think like, dude, how long does this stuff have to sit in my cart before you're like, you know what, Renee, here's $10 off. Just take it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like it never happens.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big difference, right? Between a physical experience and an online experience. The physical cart has a different shelf life than an online cart would have. And the data intelligence that you have around that physical cart versus an online cart, it's night and day. There's no intelligence about what's in the cart. And in fact, in Amazon's physical stores, they try to build that intelligence by using smart, cameras and, observance techniques and things to figure out what did get put in your shopping cart to know what to charge you. It's a different way of looking at it.
I find that like super interesting. I find the idea that like the retail experience is about to be mine and mine alone. Like so much of this, like, I check it out. I don't talk to anybody. There's machines everywhere. Like the experience is starting to become mine and mine alone, which is really hard to design for because people are maniacs and they're all different. And so like, how do you design, processes for those it's interesting. I don't know how we're going to get there. Like I feel like there's going to be be this massive backlash, like one day soon, Mark, we won't trust a newspaper that isn't delivered to our front door because it has a seal on it that's a holograph. And we know now that it definitely came from the New York Times and not from somewhere crazy, right? Like we're headed there. We're headed
Yeah.
there. So I just wonder how long before we're headed back to the mall. But I live somewhere where it's 115 degrees out. We still have 3 malls here, and none of
Yeah.
them are outdoors because you need somewhere to go in the summer. Otherwise, you just sit in the house because it's so hot out.
Well, yeah.
They serve a purpose. And so cultural echoes in some parts of this country, the mall still serves a purpose. And so people still go to it. But Sears no longer serves that purpose. And we don't wait for Black Friday anymore. Did you notice that? Like, we're a country that's kind of getting US. We're kind of getting over that Black Friday thing. It's like not our thing. Even Cyber Monday isn't what it used to be. But like Prime Day, used to be a big deal. Not so much this year because of tariffs, but it's usually like a really big deal. So big they turned it into like a week, right? So, and people think differently about that. Interesting thing though is with algorithms at play, how much of that really is just on-demand pricing that's being used against me, that it's not really cheaper.
Yeah.
It's just you're presenting it into a way to me that seems like it's more of a value because it's happening during Prime Week. So did you spend 3 weeks raising prices so that when you dropped them, they were the same as before you started? Maybe.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
it's all of that stuff that comes into that. So yeah, like that Amazon model, like you feel like it's primed. It can get as big as it wants to get. But I do think culturally speaking, because that's the section we're talking in here,
Yeah.
we're going to backlash this eventually. Right? We're going to do.
Yeah, I think so. There's definitely there's an experiential kind of process around shopping, and I think with things like Prime Day and Cyber Monday and Black Friday and even Singles Day in Asia,
Mhm.
they're events, and Singles Day is just a totally made up event, Jack Ma
Oh, like
call it.
Mother's Day.
Right, they could just let's just make up a special day, but that event-based shopping still happens. I think that the big difference here is just, what the scale of it might be and how that's changed over time. I mean, with Sears catalog, obviously with Christmas, right? That's why the wish book, would get sent out for Christmas and holidays and stuff. But now it's, that information is there all the time. I can always be looking at the catalog. It's the eternal catalog.
Right.
It's always there. So I think maybe some of that event-based shine has gone away, but I think there's still a bit of, event-based experience shopping process that people love. I don't think that's going to go away.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a consumer world. So,
Yeah.
Mother's Day, right? Flowers. Got to buy flowers. Mother's Day. Got to go out. Got to do the restaurant.
And I just have dogs and I'm forced to do all that. So
I think it's not so much that one of these businesses is failing and one of them was winning, but every era has a catalog company, and it's built on that cutting edge distribution tech of the time. For Sears, it was railroads, telegraphs, then telephones, and the U.S. Postal Service. And for Amazon, broadband, cloud computing, global logistics, marketplace, right? All of these things are, they're just different technology stacks. But what that technology stack does is it enables this massive scale, this change in scale. Whereas, half of American families, had access to Sears and bought from the catalog. Now, I mean, I'd be surprised if it was, if there wasn't every single household in the States and near, every market that Amazon operates in that people have access to it. But at the end of the day, the core business, from my, 2 cents, it's the same thing. Taking friction out of shopping. That's what the technology stack is about.
No, I would agree. I would agree. The easier it is to spend money, the more money you'll spend. I mean, I don't think that's hard to figure out, right? But how, I guess in the ultra personalization that we're in, right? Like you can give me a news feed that only agrees with me. And I
Sure.
can live in a
Yeah.
bubble of a world where I'm fat, dumb, and happy because no one disagrees with me. Like that's like now I got to sell to you in a way where I won't disagree with you, and you're fat, dumb, and happy. Like that technology, I think, is that hyper personalization. That's the next nut to crack, right? Because now I'm going to want to take whatever this experience is on the iPhone and I want to do it in VR. So now I really am having an individual shopping experience, right? For the things that I like to buy from the brand that I want to buy it from in a virtual store while I'm standing in my own living room with a VR headset on. Oh, and by the way, did I mention I have a personal shopper and I don't have to shop with anybody else? Look at me. I'm like J-Lo at that point, right? And all I had to do was buy, a Meta VR Oculus, right? I think that's where we're headed. That's where we end up at the end of this trail. If we're going to match the technology of the day, that's the technology of the day. I'm going to have an ultra like personalized experience and I'm going to do it through VR. Oh, and by the way, if I'm buying furniture, it's mixed reality VR because I want to see how that's going to
Sure.
look in the house. And then I'm
That's
going to go
right.
order it from online from a vendor who used to work in catalog and has stores, Ethan Allen, right? Like I'm going to go do all that, right? I think that's the future of catalog. It becomes hyper personal before it breaks. And then it just becomes like everybody, come on now. You can't just live in your own catalog world, right? Like we'll come to a conclusion at some place. I'm sure it'll be the next generation who bucks against all of this and starts living in the woods in a shack. Like those are the people who are going to be like, just send it to me in the mail. I'm good.
Do,
Like we're eventually
do you
going to get
think
back to that.
do you think that it's, like Sears is displaced by another, company, Amazon, and several others. It wasn't just Amazon, but they're the 800-pound gorilla, right? But do you think Amazon gets replaced, or do you think that there's a morphing, right? The catalog experience, this idea of the eternal catalog, does it change and go back and swing the other way to super specialty, right? You just talked about furniture and Ethan Allen. Like, does Ethan Allen, adopt a technology stack because it's cheaper, it's more efficient, it's faster, and they say, well, you know what? I'm going to let somebody else do the logistics piece of this. I'm going to create an experience on my own technology stack, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to out Amazon Amazon. Do you think that it shifts that way, or do you think that it's still going to be this mega aggregation?
I just think we're in the habit of mega aggregation until the star collapses in on itself and there's fusion, right? Like you know what I mean? Like if we let things get so big that the edges start to break off because of gravity and then it morphs into something else. We're not there yet. Like I don't think we're there yet because we haven't gotten fed up with it. I actually can't call someone at Amazon to get something sorted out. And like I think everybody's we all have Stockholm syndrome. We think this is the way it's supposed to work. Where I think disruption comes in, who comes and blends that personalized super touch experience of
Yeah.
of a agenic bot that looks like a person along with that eternal catalog where I can get everything I could ever want, and AI could create an experience for me where the Amazon I log into is a bunch of sugar cookie stuff, candle making stuff, and dresses from the 1950s. That's it. That's all I ever have to look at ever because that's all I ever buy. Like, go do that. Create an experience where it's a woman from the 1950s with her sugar cookies on the platter. Like that's what the advertising inside of my portal should look like. Crack that nut and then connect to the Amazon API and people will shop with you. Like that's how it's going to be, right? If that's the experience, that's the one I'm looking for. I want to, if you're going to go hyper personal, then go hyper personal.
Right. Well, and that becomes then, your personal catalog rather
Love
than,
it, right?
this massive catalog that's meant for everyone. I think that's kind of an interesting, that concept of, yes, we're still going to have a catalog, whether that catalog is, a list of stuff. And I got to say, I hate the Amazon listings. Like it is it's a completely frustrating process for me.
And you have
Like you can,
Stockholm syndrome because you're like, I guess I'll use it. I guess I'll use it.
yes,
It's
exactly.
okay.
I
Okay.
hate it. If I'm looking for something, a very specific brand with a very specific item, it's rare that that exact item shows up at the top of the list. And I know why. It's because, they've got their Amazon choice and they've got,
Yeah.
all of that and whatever. But, I think that it would be, I would probably spend more and more time browsing the catalog if the catalog was mine and mine alone. And if it had goofy, paints for modeling and Apple iPhones and
Test tubes for scientific labs. Like, I don't know.
like
Like,
that
why do I
stuff.
need any
Yeah,
of this?
and bad Hawaiian print shirts and stuff. Like that would be my that would be my catalog. Right? And if I saw more of that, then I would spend more time and more shopping there. And then I wouldn't even need to pick up the phone or, go to the site and click or anything like that. I would just tell the agent and say, AI agent, I want that one. That one looks good. Buy that one for me. And it just happens and it magically shows up. I mean, that's the experience that I think we're moving towards.
The sad existence, Mark. It's a sad. Every time I go to Solvang and I start at one end of the street and I walk through all the terrible little shops there and I walk into every single one, every single bakery. I think this is what we're missing when we go online. Like we're missing talking to every single shop owner about every little thing. And
you used to hate that place, and now you have this.
I find I'm nostalgic for it.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I know.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that the catalog lives on, but that it's going to just change. That cover of the catalog isn't going to be bustles and sewing machines and needles and pins and things. It's going to be something else. It's going to be something that's personalized to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's eventually going to happen.
That'll be interesting, right? Because then it takes it all full circle. It takes the idea that a data-driven approach to marketing makes sense. You can even do that with catalogs. And you could probably, I mean, they do it on Facebook all the time, right? Find me postmenopausal women who like making sugar cookies and have French bulldogs, right? And I'm going to market her this French bulldog cookie cutter.
Well,
that crap could happen in a catalog, right? Who's the company who's going to say, I'm going to bring you the print catalog for every single customer. Just tell me what they bought in the last 2 years and I'm going to give you a personalized catalog for them. Like that, that's where we're at. That's where we're at. And maybe that's what it takes to have a nostalgic experience, is that we have to leverage all the technology we have to create it so personalized, because that's what we're used to, that the nostalgia is just I remember I used to do a lot of that.
Yeah, right? It'll be like total overload. All the endorphins will hit right at the
all at the same time.
And it's then we'll just hit the feed me pill and get our dosage right then. The dopamine rush from buying stuff.
Trademark Renee Murphy. Right. I'm trademarking it. Renee Murphy Inc. It's gonna be my next big thing.
I think that's a shopping trip through time from Sears Big Book, right, and trains and U.S. Postal Service to Amazon's digital storefront. The big business of catalogs it hasn't died. It's just updated the software.
That's it. Hey, I'm Renee Murphy.
And Mark, thanks for listening, Nostalgic Nerds.
Subscribe, share, tell us what your favorite catalog memory or your latest Amazon rabbit hole. I've been down them. Oh, you know what my new thing is?
What's that?
Actually getting the airbrush equipment for my cookies so I can airbrush them.
I could you want to talk airbrushing, I can show you whatever you want to talk about. That would be in my personal catalog.
Until next time.
All right, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy, you guys.
Podcast.